Welcome back. Time for our Sports Corner. That's what it says behind me. And for that, we're joined by our sports reporter, Adam Kaufman. Welcome, joining us from Fios One. Kind of an odd sight today in Indianapolis. The Colts honored their franchise quarterback, Peyton Manning, with a pseudo-retirement ceremony, and actually they were releasing him. Manning and team owner Jim Irsay were both emotional as Indy elected to cut Manning with 4 years left on his contract, so he'll be a free agent for the first time in his career. This is a huge deal around the NFL. He's the most recognizable player in the league, correct?
Yeah, and not from just those commercials. It's a gigantic story, obviously. Anytime that you have a guy of his notoriety, one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game, not just currently, let go by his team when he still feels he can play, it's a big deal. But he missed all of last year, coming off of 3 neck surgeries in a span of 19 months, and now he gets to test the waters.
And speaking of those waters, I'm not off the top of my head, don't know what every team everybody roots for, but the New York teams have quarterbacks right now. There's a Manning on the Giants. Mark Sanchez is on the Jets. Do we want him in New York? Is there a spot for him in New York? Is there?
Well, he's not going to the Giants. I could promise you that. As far as the Jets go, it's an interesting situation because obviously Mark Sanchez is a guy that Rex Ryan, head coach of the Jets, has said time and time again, he's our quarterback. He's ascending. He's the guy we have faith in. That being said, he's also a number of times over the last few years referred to Peyton Manning as the best quarterback in the game. So how can he not be interested in taking a look? And it would require, a la Brett Favre a few years ago, a whole lot of salary restructuring, which would not be easy, and the offense and coaching staff, for that matter, are largely built around Sanchez, but it's possible.
I'm curious what everybody thinks about these legendary players who play for one team, and then all of a sudden, well, the money's just not working out, time to go. I mean, Jorge Posada was basically kicked out the door by the Yankees. Should there be exceptions made for these kinds of players?
Well, I mean, from what I saw at the press conference today, Irsay loves Manning and Manning loves Irsay, but it's a salary cap league, and every dollar that you give to one player is a dollar you don't have available to sign a draft choice or a free agent.
Well, he was due $28 million just in roster bonus alone.
And they've got the #1 draft choice, which is going to demand the highest rookie salary, even though the salaries are lower now.
And it'll be a quarterback.
I'm just impressed because he's going to wind up on my Redskins and keep the Redskins not.
I think they should have paid him. I think they should have gave him the roster bonus. I think this Andrew Luck kid, is that his name, Andrew Luck?
Yeah, he's one of them. Could be
he's one
Robert
of them.
Griffin III also.
I've seen some great players in college, and they don't pass the smell test the moment they get to the NFL. There's no guarantee that he's going to deliver. There's certainly no guarantee that he's the next Peyton Manning. And Peyton Manning, I think the Jets, I know Mr. Sanchez might not be happy, but they should take a look at him.
But the unknown with Peyton is what's wrong with his neck. And the fact
that
they're letting him go makes me think that Jim Irsay knows something that we don't.
All right, I want to move on because I want to get to this one too. Manning's future, not just the only thing that's got the NFL buzzing. They're still trying to figure out what to do about this whole Bounty-Gate involving the New Orleans Saints and their former defensive coordinator Greg Williams. Large sums of money for intentionally injuring opponents. And now, the coach, the GM, it looks like they knew about it. Question is, what kind of punishment is it going to be? But is it going to be harsh? Is this the kind of thing? Should Greg Williams just not be allowed to coach in the NFL anymore?
Well, he's no longer with the Saints. He's now the defensive coordinator over in St. Louis. But obviously there are going to be steep punishments, whether it's him being, I don't know that he'd be kicked out of the game, but is he suspended for a period of time, maybe the whole year? And what does New Orleans face?
I want to ask everybody this because a defensive coach is going to tell you want to hit the person as hard as you possibly can on a regular play.
That's why he's being made a fall guy. Because if you tell me there isn't a single defensive coordinator that doesn't do exactly the same thing, they may not put the money up front, but you just look at the guy and say, this guy's been beating us for 200 yards this game.
Well, but that's where the line is drawn, is actually offering sums of money to knock a guy out of a game, to intentionally injure him versus going out and just trying to win the game.
But didn't the Lawrence Taylors of the world make extra millions of dollars because they were so brutal on defense, so harsh? They weren't intending to injure, but they certainly injured my favorite quarterback when I was a kid, Joe Theismann. I mean, it's part of the game. It's just, I know it's unseemly, but is it that far removed from the way the game is normally played?
Well, what would be naive is if we sit here and say New Orleans was the only team doing something like this. Now, granted, nothing has come out to say that that's in fact the case, but it goes back to Spygate too. Were the Patriots the only team theoretically filming teams on the sidelines? Who knows?
Yeah. Well, these skill players, quarterbacks in particular, are the stars of the league. They are the main attraction that the league has to offer. That's why, as it's been pointed out, when a network tries to schedule a game in prime time, they want the best quarterbacks. You take those people out, you have a less attractive product, the value of the whole league goes down.
I appreciate that fact, I do, but the cheers are just as loud when there's a devastating hit as there is when there's a touchdown. Half the reason, I'm convinced half the reason people watch NASCAR isn't for the racing, it's for the crashes. There is some part of this that actually feeds what a lot of people are looking for, and I think it's easy to throw the blame entirely at Greg Williams and say what he's doing is appalling. I think we all are a little bit complicit in terms of
like the left turns in NASCAR, no?
Well, they certainly get enough of them. We're going to wrap things up after a quick break. Stay with us.